There have honestly been some times in my life where everything suddenly changed, and I asked myself, who am I now? One of those times was after my husband passed away. And then more recently, after selling my business and stepping into a new chapter of life, I found myself praying, God, what do you want me to do now? And maybe you found yourself asking questions like that. Questions that surface when life changes, when roles change, and you realize that you're not who you used to be. And honestly, by the time we reach our 50s, we're navigating things like menopause, changing hormones, changing energy levels, and an economy that's changing every 5 minutes. One minute you're walking into the kitchen and wondering what you walked in for, and the next minute you're looking at your grocery prices and wondering, when did bananas become a luxury item? So if you've been feeling a little unsettled lately, you are not alone. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 3 transformations that women over 50 often go through, and why what you're feeling could be the beginning of something new. Hi, my friend. Welcome to Heavenly Payday. If we haven't met before, my name is Carol, and on this channel we talk about selective retirement, income online, purpose, faith, and building a meaningful life after 50. I retired selectively at 56. And honestly, I thought retirement might feel a little bit different than it does. I thought that perhaps once I slowed down a little bit, everything would feel peaceful and settled. But instead, I noticed something interesting was happening. Externally, life looked pretty good. But inwardly, I felt like I was changing. I think maybe a lot of women experience this. Not because they're unhappy, but because they're growing into someone that they haven't been before. Because I've really not heard anyone talking about this, today I'm going to speak about the 3 transformations that many women over 50 experience. And maybe by the end of the video, you'll realize that you're not awkwardly out of place. You're just transforming. Now, before I start talking about the first transformation, I just want to mention that this video is part of a series called The Women Nobody Prepared Us to Become. In this series, we're going to have heart-to-heart conversations about this stage of life as women over 50. We're going to talk about things like identity, purpose, restlessness, reinvention, selective retirement, faith, online income, and building a life of purpose in this next season. Because I think many women are navigating huge internal changes right now, and nobody seems to be talking about it or understand. So if that sounds like something that would encourage you, I'd like you to subscribe and follow along with this series so you don't miss a video. And with that said, let's talk about the first transformation that many women over 50 experience. I think the first transformation many women over 50 experience is what I'd call the identity transformation. For decades, many of us have been needed by everyone. We've been workers, wives, caregivers, perhaps mothers, volunteers, problem solvers, the reliable one. And somewhere along the way, our responsibilities have become our identity. And then suddenly, things begin to change. The kids leave home. Retirement gets closer. Careers shift, and life slows down a bit. And without even realizing it, many women begin to ask themselves, who am I now? I remember after stepping away from full-time work, sometimes it felt a little strange to slow down. Like I should be constantly producing something or achieving something instead of having another nap. And I think many women feel that way because we've been in motion for decades. And maybe here's where we get stuck. We think restlessness leads to something's wrong or we've failed, when sometimes restlessness just means our identity is shifting or we've outgrown the old. This can actually be a good thing because it allows us time to ask questions like, what matters to me now? What kind of life do I want to create? What still makes me feel alive? And as a Christian, this has become especially meaningful to me because while many things change in life, our identity in Christ does not. Careers change, seasons change, roles change, even our energy and priorities can change. But when you've placed your trust in Christ, your deepest identity is already secure. I love what Colossians 3:12 says. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and beloved. Just think about that for a minute. Chosen, holy, and dearly loved. Not because of productivity or achievement or how busy we are. And to me, that's incredibly comforting, especially during these seasons of transformation. Because when other parts of life feel uncertain, we can stand on something solid. And I think that that foundation changes the way that we move through every transformation in life. And once our identity begins to become less attached to constant performance and busyness, something else begins to change too. The way you relate to your time, your pace, and your energy. The next step is really important because I believe many women begin realizing that they don't need or want the same pace of life anymore. You can still work hard, you can still contribute, you can still build meaningful things, but our relationship with energy begins to change. At least mine did. I realized that I didn't want a fast pace. I didn't want the stress. I wanted a more relaxed life. Time for morning walks. Time to just think and breathe. I think many women reach the point where they stop wanting to prove themselves all the time. That's a big shift because our culture often glorifies burnout, busy schedules, and constant hustle. I've always been a lower energy, really content kind of person, but the older I get, the more I appreciate the quieter lifestyle. Simple things began mattering more. Playing pickleball. See the smile? Morning walks. Hosting international students in my home. Creative projects. And just meaningful conversations. I realized that just because I could continue living at full speed didn't mean that I actually should. This was a really important lesson for me because energy has become even more important than ever. And I think that many women start wanting a life that's sustainable, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. I know I do. And once we begin slowing down enough to protect our peace and our energy, another question surfaces. What do I actually want this next season of life to mean? Although many women don't want another exhausting career, they know deep down that they're not done growing. And this is true for me. I definitely didn't want to go backwards into a stressful 9-to-5 situation. But I also knew I still wanted purpose, creativity, contribution, and even new challenges. Retirement doesn't mean shutting off our ambition, but instead I've discovered something healthier. Not pressure-driven ambition, but purpose-driven growth. There's a difference. And this is partly what's led me into the life of online digital marketing. Not because I wanted to become some flashy YouTuber, but because I loved the idea of flexibility and freedom, learning new things, and creating income online in a way that supported the lifestyle I wanted. And I think that technology has changed what's possible for women over 50. You don't necessarily need to build life the old way anymore. And I think many women are realizing that. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to build an online business. But I think that women over 50 need to know that they still have purpose and meaning, They need to be able to grow because purpose doesn't expire at 50 or 60 or beyond. I truly believe that the most meaningful years can still be ahead of us. We can take the time now to be who we truly are and not what others have wanted us to be. So today we've talked about the 3 transformations for women over 50 in the areas of identity, energy, and purpose. So if you've been feeling a little unsettled lately, restless, maybe you're not falling apart, the butterfly is emerging. In the next video, I want to talk about something that most women feel, but few will talk about. Why so many women over 50 suddenly feel restless in this stage of life. Because once I started understanding what was happening emotionally, so much more made sense. So if you don't see that video here yet, it just means it's coming. So make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss the next part of this series. And if this video has resonated with you, please write down in the comments what part of this transformation has happened to you. I'd genuinely like to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching and subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.